done pretty, like, people seem pretty curious what it's like, because the average person hasn't done it. They don't really know what it's like. And, you know, most people have it kind of like ground into their brain from the time they're a kid that they shouldn't hitchhike and they shouldn't pick up hitchhikers. If you see anything in the media about hitchhiking, it's that it's a very bad idea and you probably shouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
There are definitely some weirdos out there, but I think it's just like anything else. You just kind of have to, I guess, get a feel for the person picking you up and kind of like a feel for like the area that you're in. Obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And a little bit of pre-planning, a little bit of premeditating on what you're...
On the direction, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like when you pulled over, mostly to get a feel for what type of person you are, I just open with like, hey, how's your day going, where are you going, like that kind of questions, and just based off how you respond to general, like small talk kind of questions, you can usually get a decent feel for what type of person that is. So I've turned down rides, and people that watch the stream have seen me turn down rides because of someone's character, or safety factors, or they're just not going in the right direction, or like they might, I'm in a good spot hitchhiking and they might go somewhere where there's just it's bad, because like, I'm not sure than just walking down the highway.
Yeah.
Because right here you could just walk down, that'd be fine, because this is an awesome spot for hitchhiking. It's like wide shoulder, albeit faster traffic, so people can safely pull over. But once you go to the mountain passes kind of thing, and it's winding, the shoulder usually narrows up, so there's not really a spot to pull over. And like by the time, if you're on a corner and you're hitchhiking on a corner, by the time they see you, they're already passing you and they're gone. So,
right.
So.
Or like trying to get a ride like out of town, but already being on the outskirts of town. And then this is just how it was for me. Like there was one time that nobody picked me up, and it was kind of my own poor lack of judgment. I was too far out of town. Nobody picked me up, so I actually had to walk back into town.
Yeah.
Get a hotel room and all that. So yeah, definitely stay like closer to...
Yeah, that's your lifeline too. If you don't have gear for multiple days out in the wilderness, because I don't carry too much with me, because when someone picks you up, they're always going somewhere. Like you usually don't end up in the middle of nowhere in the woods, because there's no reason for that person to be driving there and drop you off there. The only reason that would happen is if you somehow pissed off the driver and they're like, "No, you get out now," which has yet to happen, because I try to not be very antagonizing with anyone I meet.
Yeah, right. You don't have you said you're from Canada, right?
Yep.
Man, you have like no accent, but I guess that's my own like perception of like a Canadian chat. Like,
yeah, if you're talking like where I'm from Western Canada and like northwestern or central U.S., pretty much sound the same. I've had some people say that there's a few words that I say that I might just kind of sound more Canadian in, but I don't even remember what those are. You guys let me know, because I forget. Actually, one guy I haven't talked to since high school came into my chat. Hey, Ian Chen, how's it going? I'm doing great, how are you? That's cool. Yeah, sometimes random people from in real life stumble into my channel, and
so that's an actual like live video
it's live,
right
and
now.
there's people talking, yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, they're asking where I'm at. I'll just show you where I'm at when I'm doing this. People telling me that the stream is going to die a lot, which is very true.
Yeah, we're going through the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's 87 people just checking out the channel.
That's all right. Whenever they get back, they're gonna have some. You're gonna have some really beautiful video footage going through the mountains.
Awesome.
Right now, the passes are still have quite a bit of snow up there. And,
oh yeah.
It's kind of overcast up there. It's really nice.
Yeah. Where are we? May. All your ski hills are closed now by now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part. There might be some, I'm sure, on like the front range they're trying to squeeze.
Yeah.
Squeeze in a few days, but I don't know.
I have one person that said definitely the occasional A.
Oh, in the accent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Canadians have that reputation where they'll end a sentence in A.
A?
Yeah. But with that said, in some places in Canada, there's places with very strong accents, like say Newfoundland. They've got a very strong accent, but for the most part, it's not too different.
And I heard that French is...
Oh, we do have a French province, so Quebec is our French province, and yeah, everyone there speaks French. Albeit people from France would say that it's like a bastardization of their language because they speak it a little bit differently. So there's a bit of clashing there.
Wow.
But yeah, Canada's bilingual, so if you go to the grocery store, everything's in English and French. If you have see any government documentation, it's in English and French. Is that the same with Spanish here? Is it?
Yeah,
So
pretty
everything's in English and Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And as far as like high school and I think even like college, I know whenever I was in high school, I had to take. It was mandatory for me to take Spanish because it was the only thing that they offered.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 years of secondary language, which I can't remember any Spanish to save my life. I don't speak it anymore.
Yeah, we're required to take French as well up to grade 9 or 10 in high school, and I don't remember like anything.
Yeah.
Which, like, I've traveled a lot. It would be helpful for me to have a couple languages on my belt, but I've always struggled with learning a language. Albeit, like in high school, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I just
Got other
limped
stuff
my
on
way
your
through.
mind. Yeah.
But yeah, like I've hitchhiked through France without knowing French, which I feel bad about. Or usually when I go to a country, I try to learn it enough to just say like, hey, I'm from Canada, I'm hitchhiking around, please and thank you. Enough to like make kind of an effort, but as soon as they start trying to say an actual like sentence, I can pretty much say my words, but I can't respond to anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is weird because like you get into those places and you try to converse, and because of that lack of the ability to communicate, it's almost like a little isolating because you listen to what's going on around you. Normally, whenever you're in a place where you speak the language, and when you're in a place that doesn't, it's such a strange feeling. And that's like I went to South Africa, and that was definitely like they talk about culture shock and being able to like look at the buildings and listen to people talk and not understand anything that's around me is startling.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very different.
Yeah, and for traveling this way, like one of the things I like most about hitchhiking is the variety of people you meet, and just meeting the different people in general. I think it's cool to meet the local people from where you're going. Like if you're in a different country, usually it's not tourists that pick you up. It's usually people if not from directly that area, in the general country at least, and they'll pick you up. And when they pick you up, you're like, hey, I'm from Canada, and they're like, they want to show you around. They want to, you kind of get brought into their culture a little bit. So it's a really cool way to see a new place.
Yeah.
Because if you're local, hitchhiking around a local place, like people will help you out, but people kind of expect that you know people and you know what you're doing. But when you're in a new country, they kind of like, I don't know, they seem to bring you in more.
Yeah.
They want to help you out more, which is cool.
Have you ever had anybody like a family like take you in, or I guess?
A lot, actually.
Really?
That's how I stayed clean in Europe. Like I got like within every third day-ish, I would get someone that would pick me up and give me a place to stay in a shower and usually a dinner of some sort.
That's very cool.
Yeah, which happens a lot less in Canada because I'm from Canada.
Right.
But it's happened a decent amount here in the U.S. My first day, I got a place, and several days along the way, I've had a place to stay. Was it 3 nights ago? I got a guy picked me up, and he lived on the Navajo reservation, and he brought me home to his whole family, and they put me up for the night, and they like cooked me like a traditional breakfast in the morning, something like that, which is a unique experience that I've never got to experience before in my life, and I don't think most people will if they're not from that area.
Yeah.
So it exposes me to a lot of things that I would never experience otherwise, which is really cool.
That is really cool. I'm sure it was like kind of probably a little weird the first time. I don't know if like
Being brought to someone's place. Yeah, you have to trust someone to like go into their home, their environment. But again, that usually doesn't happen unless I've had a long ride with someone and like you've gotten to know each other pretty well in that time.
Right.
So yeah, you have to have a certain level of trust at that point. But also on this thing, these guys I think keep me safer. Even though I've done it a lot, and I think hitchhiking is a fairly safe way of traveling. Like not as safe as taking a bus, plane, or train from point A to point B, but still not as dangerous as they make it out to be. But with this, before I get into a vehicle, I have to ask people permission to film and live stream. And if someone had any bad intentions, they wouldn't want that video broadcast. So thank you.
like a huge safety thing as well. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So this is probably the safest trip I've ever done in my life. Even though I think hitchhiking is a reasonably safe thing to do if you have a few rules that you follow, like talking to your driver beforehand, and if you think you have a decent judge of character, just normally. And I don't hitchhike at night is another one of my rules. It's just daytime stuff for me.
Right. Going through Colorado, especially, well, not Colorado specifically, but like any state that where marijuana is legal, there are some drivers out there that will smoke and drive. And
Yeah.
be a little reckless.
Yeah.
Careless, I should say.
Relic the Clown, thanks for hosting the channel with 18 viewers. Appreciate it. So it's just Hawaii that you hitchhiked around, or did you go anywhere else?
Nope, just
Hawaii?
Yeah.
And that was all around, like multiple islands, or just one island?
Just one island.
Yeah.
I had a great time though. Hawaii was the smallest island. And I kind of did like a work vacation, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun. A lot of really, really sweet people out there. Really strong native culture. The natives are. It's another, like we were talking earlier, like another place where you kind of go because of the, I guess, I don't know how you, like the saturation of the culture. I don't know if that's like a good way to say it. It's where a place that you go into and you immediately like recognize like how unfamiliar it kind of is. It's definitely like, even though it's part of the States and all that.
Yeah, it just feels
like,
very different.
Yeah, very different social rules, like how you interact with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but altogether, really, really awesome place. Terrible that they got as much rain as they did.
When you were there?
No, actually, it was recently. The island of Kauai got a huge rainfall. They had some really heavy flooding problems.
Yeah.
So, but I think they've had some sun now, so that's all good.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you said you've been hitchhiking for, you said, like 4 years?
Like on it, like that's not 4 years straight. So what I do is I'll be at home, I'll save up money working a normal job, quit my job, travel for X amount of months, anywhere from, a couple weeks to my longest is about 8 months.
I gotcha.
And then come back, save up money again, and do the same thing over and over again.
That's awesome, man.
For 4 years. So I'm 23 now. I started at 19. Eventually, I'll have to stop and do like real adult things, not just hitchhiking around forever. But for now, it's really fun. I think hitchhiking's kind of like you. There's plenty of people that do it their whole life, but I think it's kind of a young man's game. Like you get around quicker if you can pull off the young person on an adventure, like the college kind of age look. Like I get around pretty quick. Where when you get older, I'm guessing people see it more as how did you get to the point in this life where you're still hitchhiking? Yeah.
Like the adventure is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you should be doing something else with your life by this
I'm
point.
sure, like you've been doing it. You said you've been doing it for like 4 years. I'm sure, like at some point, you'll probably be interested in like a different type of like lifestyle, or I don't know how you would say it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't enjoy this type of traveling my whole life. It's a difficult way of traveling, or it's a tiring way of traveling, and I'll always travel my whole life. I don't think I'll ever stop, but I'll do things a little differently. Although I would like to occasionally come back to a little bit of hitchhiking just here and there, just to get to the next town or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Because I really enjoy it. And they're like, why are you hitchhiking? Why would you do that? Because I like it. It's that simple. It makes me happy.
Meet a whole bunch of different people, put yourself in like different situations. I don't know. I got the same. I didn't do it for nearly as long as you have.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I guess like that. The new experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
And and for me, I also tell people I like the unknown nature of it, like which leads to kind of like an adventurous kind of day. Like you have no idea who's going to pick you up. If you're going long distances like this, I have no idea where I'm going to end up today, and I like that. I like that there's a good chance I'm probably just gonna get dropped off in some random town or city, and I have to figure things out from that point.
Right.
It adds a challenge to the whole traveling thing. You're constantly solving problems, or wherever you drop me off, I have to find another decent place to hitchhike, because I wouldn't want to hitchhike just right here if you were dropping me off right here.
Right.
Constant problems. There's several things I like with it, and it all kind of comes together to just be, for me, a very enjoyable way of traveling. But not everyone would get enjoyment out of it, right?
No.
Like it's not glamorous. You're dirty, you're sweaty, you're smelly quite often. I'm freshly showered. Hopefully, I don't smell too bad, because that would just be that'd be disappointing. We're good. And you have to be patient. And there'll be times when you go hours without a ride. Like on average, I wait. Like in all my rides, my average wait time's in the 15 to 25 minute range. If we're talking like median wait time.
That's not bad.
Which is not bad at all. In hitchhiking terms, that's barely anything. But even with that said, like I'll wait, a couple hours here or there. Longest I've had to wait is 8.5 hours for a ride. That's just like, I think you're dealing with statistics there.
Yeah.
Like, just sometimes it'll take a long time.
Or just like in a general area, or maybe
Yeah.
something's going on and everybody's in a hurry, or whatever.
Yeah, like my 8.5 hour ride was due to traffic, because I was in Fort Nelson, BC, trying to go up through Watson Lake, Whitehorse. Like I was going up to the Canadian Arctic in winter for fun, because I had decent gear, because I work in the outdoor industry selling that gear.
Nice.
So I could do that. But north of Fort Nelson, there's nothing for like 500 kilometers, and there's just not many people taking that road in the winter in February.
Right.
So I waited like all day, and eventually got a commercial truck to Watson Lake, 500 miles away.
Wow.
But you're there all day. But it was like a good community. In that 8.5 hours, it was winter, and I had two separate people come up, like in their vehicles, be like, "Yeah, I saw you here earlier, and you're still here, so we thought we'd bring you Tim Hortons," which is like the Canadian like coffee shop and donut place.
Yeah.
So I had to go with coffee and a muffin twice in the same day.
That's pretty cool.
So even though that was just the traffic problem, like it's a nice community, it's a small town, and everyone's driving around, they see you there and they still want to help you, they just can't drive you 500 kilometers or 300 some odd miles.
Yeah, right.
And I do apologize when I speak distances, I immediately think kilometers, Canadians and metric and all that.
No, you're
But
right.
I know that that doesn't translate, because yeah, you guys use miles.
No, it's funny that you mentioned that, because my buddy and I were talking about that, about how, I guess, and for all the American audience out there, the European really overcome.
Base 10 or whatever, so it's easy to figure it out. But the thing is, in Canada, we're 100% metric, like in all our government kind of stuff, but everyone says their weight in pounds, and everyone says our height in feet and inches. So, but if you look on my license, it says my height in centimeters and my weight in kilos, but I don't even know my weight in kilos, and I don't know my height in centimeters. So we're effectively like somewhere in the middle as far as the average person's usage of metric or imperial. In your hitchhiking in Hawaii, did you get any like really strange people?
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of strange people out there. Hawaii is kind of a mecca for people that are interested in getting off the grid and slowing down. And so a lot of people out there had very different lifestyles. They're vegan. I've met some people that, gosh, some of them believe that the Earth is still flat.
Oh yeah, I've had plenty of that. We've had plenty of that.
None of it was like that. It was just, I don't know, a little less traditional of a place, a little bit more like holistic, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they have so much like fresh fruit out there, things like beef and chicken and things like that are a lot more expensive, and so it's not even like financially, I wouldn't say feasible, but not like even like, to eat meat every day would be financially pressing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we've had plenty of that. We've had one ride in particular, people were just like, well, they had like every conspiracy theory, all the different like chakras, stuff like that. And then someone in chat told me to bring up vampires, and this dude was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, there's vampires, and they're like, when you think of vampires, they actually have like a what do you call it? Some kind of like virus thing that like kind of controls your brain and like wants you to like suck blood. And he's like, but it's not your traditional vampire that you'd think. It only has like one fang, and it kind of like goes directly into this parasite, I think called it, in your brain. And then, but he's like, but you don't need to have that parasite to actually draw energy from someone's blood. And I'm like, well, have you like drawn energy from someone's blood before? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, did you have their permission? He's like, no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
So you sell outdoor gear?
Yeah. Or, well, now I don't, because I don't have that job. Otherwise, I'd be like, I'll hook you up with pro deals.
That'd be sick.
But yeah, that's what I do between jobs right now. Once you get one job in that industry and you have experience there, it's really easy to get other ones. Yeah. But that gave me the ability to hitchhike up to the Canadian Arctic last winter.
I bet that was an amazing adventure.
It was crazy. It was cool. A lot of Type 2 fun. I call it Type 2 fun because it might not necessarily be fun at the moment as you're standing out minus 40 degrees waiting for a ride.
Right.
But it's fun after the fact, and I feel satisfied that I did it.
Yeah, right. Kind of one of those like looking in the rearview mirror type of things.
Yeah. But that was really unique. I'd like to go back in the summer and just see how stark the difference is, which it's very different in the winter and the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Albeit the bad thing is the winter up north is very bad for bugs. Very bad. Lots of mosquitoes. And that's why they have these beautiful bird migrations up there, because that's all their food. All those bugs.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
So are you like a mountaineer?
I've never done any mountaineering. If I stayed at one of my jobs, almost everyone that worked there did ski touring, so like ski mountaineering essentially. And if the business didn't shut down and I stayed there for much longer, I probably would have invested a few grand and invested money into the courses to be able to do that, because that really appealed to me. I skied a lot when I was a kid, but I just haven't as much anymore because it's expensive to ski, like ski passes and stuff. But once you have your ski touring set up, well, you just split gas money with the people you're going with, and then you just ski up the mountain and you ski back down. But no, I've never gone into any mountaineering or anything. What about you?
Nope.
No.
Just hike quite a bit, obviously. Really nice thing about Colorado is
Yeah.
you've got beautiful hikes pretty much everywhere.
Well, that's a ski mountain.
Yeah.
Ski hill over here.
I've never been to this one.
No. But yeah, I've heard Colorado is amazing for anything outdoors.
Yeah.
If you like being outside, Colorado is one of the best states to be in the U.S.
Yeah. It is beautiful out here.
Yeah. So. And you live in Montrose area? Yeah, it's home.
Yeah.
And lots to do there?
Yeah, fair amount. Montrose is kind of a country town, so a lot of farmland out there. The people are really, really nice.
Yeah.
But as far as like big city amenities, like malls and I guess I call them instant gratification stops.
Yeah.
Where you have like climbing walls and places where you can go and be entertained, like pay to be entertained. Montrose doesn't have that. Montrose has a lot of BLM, which is the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
And there's dunes. People go dirt biking, four wheeling.
Oh yeah.
Huge things out there.
Yeah.
Horseback riding. A lot of horsemen, a lot of farmers out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you pretty much nailed it. I mean, anything outdoors, Montrose pretty much has to offer.
Yeah.
Originally, it was kind of like a retirement town, but now it's actually starting to get a few more people like our age. So there's starting to be a little bit more of a nightlife,
Oh, yeah.
which is nice. But Yeah, man, it's just a super quiet town. No big city traffic or any of that crap. But
Yeah.
is only like an hour and a half away.
Okay.
So it's not like if you have to go to a bigger city for whatever reason, you're not, having to kill yourself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you said you're headed to Grand Junction, headed to Denver, so you'll get to see it.
I'll go check out. How big population-wise do you know Montrose?
I have no idea.
No.
Yeah,
But it's like a small city, would you call it, or a town?
It's like a town.
It's a town.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to right off the top of my head, I want to say it's like maybe 50 or 60,000.
Okay, that's decent.
Yeah.
Usually at that size, you kind of have everything you need without a bunch of the things you don't really need. But
Yeah, exactly.
And then Grand Junction is more a proper city-ish.
Yeah, I think that's got close to like a million.
Crazy expensive, but it's more.
It's really like down.
It's 9 days straight my trip,
Wow.
which. Like I'm from the West Coast. I'm from a place where they call it a temperate rainforest. So I'm used to rain, but still, when you're outside all the time, living in a tent and stuff like that, it kind of wears on you a bit. And then as soon as I hit California, I didn't see a single drop of rain until yesterday in Durango. That was the first time I've seen rain. So I've had really good weather once I got out of Washington and Oregon.
Right. Those are really wet places, anyways. And California has definitely had their fair share of a drought problem. Did you get anywhere near the coast?
I went down the coast the whole way. I went down Highway 101 from Washington.
That's
the whole
awesome.
way. It was beautiful. It was a gorgeous route. I'm really happy I did that to start with. And now, I've been to a lot of beautiful places in the U.S. so far. It's a big country. There's a lot to see, but I could do this for months, or I could do this for a year straight of constant travel, and you wouldn't go everywhere or even close. It's a big country.
That's something I'm actually really like. So I mean, my hitchhiking was pretty like a day or a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Around it. Well, I guess for me it was like more like 4 months, but I had a place that I was renting. But for you, being out as long as you are, how much are you, if you don't mind me asking, like how much is your average like travel cost, like like per day or like,
day-to-day basis? It depends on the trip. Like this one, I'm spending a little bit more because there's a whole lot more motivation for me to like stay in a motel occasionally, because I have to charge up all my batteries, because live streaming is very battery intensive.
Right.
I use like 1% of my phone battery per minute, so I've got an hour and a half essentially on a full charge, but I have it physically attached to a big power bank. But those have to be recharged. I can go about, I say, 3 days without needing a full overnight recharge.
Gotcha.
So that's like the biggest expense I've had on this trip, is the few nights where, and it's just food and incidentals. Or out of it, I would buy a baguette in the morning, some yogurt, and I'd have like muesli in my bag, like breakfast granola, and I'd make a pound of bread and a decent chunk of muesli and yogurt. And I've also done some dumpster diving, mostly only just for bread and pastries. Never any like fruits and vegetables or anything else.
Sure.
Because like
Perishable.
like bread stuff, like if you have bread in your cupboard and it's best before, like one day after its best before date, it's still fine. They just couldn't sell it after that point, and they just chuck it out if it hits that best before date, and it's still fine. And they usually have the bread and pastries in a separate bag at smaller grocery stores, so I'm not like digging through a bunch of just loose garbage. It's just in its own separate bag. You pull that bag out, grab a few things, you put the bag back in, and that's free. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, you can't beat free unless someone's paying you to eat, but that's not going to happen unless I was like a food blogger or something like that, but I'm not. So I usually don't eat very well, and then in that case, like on an average day, I'd be spending like $3 to $5 a day Canadian, so
Wow.
$4 US. But on my big 8-month trip, I spent most of it being very frugal, except for a few notable exceptions. So including flights, I was averaging, I think it was 13 or 14 Canadian a day, which is just over $10 US a day, including like all cost flights and everything like that. And that includes like a week at Oktoberfest, which is where I spent like a lot of that money.
Oh,
Because it's €11.35 a beer, which is like 15 Canadian, similar in U.S. dollars.
Yeah.
And then you always have to have a beer in front of you. You can't be at Oktoberfest and not have a beer in front of you. So.
Right. Is that an actual rule, or?
No, it's just like it's like
okay.
socially. I'm like I can't be at Oktoberfest at a table and not have a beer in front of me. It's a liter beer, so you can like you can have that beer for a while. It's gonna get warm, but you just deal with it if you're trying to not spend that much money.
Yeah. Right.
But still, you're there all day. You're gonna drink at least 4 beers in that time for a whole day ordeal. So that's close to 50 euros just in beer.
Quite a bit of money.
And then I'd stumble back out into some bushes in the outskirts of Munich and sleep in my tent.
That was another question. Like, I didn't sleep in a tent. I did a couple times, but do you find sometimes it's like really, really difficult to find spots where you can actually pitch your tent?
In proper cities, yeah, it can be. It's one reason I don't like real cities that much. It's hard to find a place to camp. It's harder to hitchhike out of a city, and quite often it's illegal in certain parts to be hitchhiking out of a city. So there's a few reasons I don't like cities, and finding a place to camp is definitely one of those reasons.
I will tell you,
Yep.
while we're talking about it, Denver actually has I forget what they call it. It's like city camping. They actually have like regulations against it. So
Oh, on camping, okay.
definitely be careful there.
Actually, but Denver's actually really nice for the purposes of this stream, because I've had 2 separate people that are viewers that I said, if you're in the Denver area, hit me up, because we should do something. They'll like help me out and stuff like that, and
Sweet.
show me around the area.
That's awesome.
Which is now the second time that might happen for this trip, which is really cool, because as I'm streaming and more people find this channel, there's like a network. I have a list of like usernames and where they're from, and it's pretty much like, when you're there, hit me up and we'll at least do something, or they'll give me a place to stay, or they'll like give me some food to eat, which is really cool. So I do have a place in Denver, I think, maybe. I never really know for sure.
Well, then, like, just going back to what you said earlier, that's kind of half the fun.
Yeah.
That's sort of the...
Yeah, you get dropped off and you figure things out. and when you get dealt problems, and when you deal with it, like, I get satisfaction out of getting myself out of awkward situations.
Yeah.
Because it's never that easy. And you live pretty uncomfortably.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is the direct opposite mentality of a lot of people. I think, generally speaking, the most successful and the happiest people that I know about are the ones that are very, I guess, non-hesitant going into uncomfortable or challenging situations. And in fact, really, really happy and successful people don't even view, problems as, I guess, like, sort of like a drudgery, so much as like what you're describing, like a challenge, like something that, like a passion, that they pursue those uncomfortable and challenging problems and situations just for the experience of it and the ability to, do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, the most happy I've been in my life is when I put myself into uncomfortable situations and gotten through that. That's the most, yeah. Like when I finally hitchhiked all the way across Russia and made it to Vladivostok, like that's one of my accomplishments. Like I felt really good at that point, because I had that looming on the tail end of my round the world trip, and like that was like a worry in the back of my mind, but I'm like, oh, it's okay, I'll deal with it. But the whole trip, when I told people where I was going, I was going to finish hitchhiking around Europe, then I was going to hitchhike across Russia, and everyone's like, why would you do that? You can't hitchhike across Russia. No one does that. That's not safe. Why would you do that? So you have this constant reinforcement in your mind, or negative reinforcement in your mind, that that's not a good idea to do, and you can't do that. But when the hitchhiking was easy, and the people were super friendly. I just couldn't communicate with them. Because no one spoke English. And I didn't speak Russian, or not much Russian. Do you mind if I turn a little bit of air on? Or is it broken?
My blower is broken up front here, and I definitely have procrastinated getting